A young woman named Maya sits alone in her small bedroom late at night, writing intensely under a dim lamp as pages pile up around her, until exhaustion takes over and she falls asleep on her manuscript. Morning comes, and she walks hopefully to the post office to mail her work, but days later a rejection letter waits in her mailbox, and her face falls as she reads the harsh words in her tiny kitchen. Undeterred, she rewrites her opening chapter at that same kitchen table, then edits alone in a quiet coffee shop before mailing another submission, only to receive a second rejection which she pins on her bedroom wall like a badge of battle. She spends hours in the public library researching successful authors, taking careful notes, then sits on a park bench at sunset watching strangers for inspiration before returning home to rewrite her entire second act through the night. At a local print shop, she creates fresh copies of her manuscript and sends them to 5 different publishers, then rushes to her waitressing job at a rundown diner, where she scribbles story ideas on napkins during breaks. A month passes and 3 rejection letters arrive on the same day, forcing her to sit defeated in her apartment stairwell, and her bedroom wall of rejections grows larger until she counts 15 total failures staring back at her. She looks at her exhausted reflection in the bathroom mirror, but refuses to quit, opening her laptop to research literary agents instead of giving up. At the coffee shop, she crafts the perfect query letter, finds a list of agents at the library, and sends 20 emails into the unknown that night. Her phone buzzes during her diner shift, and she rushes to the bathroom to read that an agent wants sample pages, so she polishes her chapters that evening and sends them nervously from the coffee shop. A week later, an official agency envelope arrives, and she opens it slowly on the apartment stairwell to discover the agent wants her full manuscript, sending her into a frantic editing session followed by a trip to the print shop and post office. 2 weeks of anxious waiting pass on her favorite park bench until her phone rings with an unknown number while she works at the diner, and she answers breathlessly in the parking lot to learn she finally has representation. Happy tears fall in her bedroom that night as she signs the contract, and days later she meets her agent at their fancy office, where they discuss submission strategy in a sleek conference room. She celebrates alone at an upscale restaurant, smiling at how far she has come, then returns home to stare at her wall of rejections before adding one precious acceptance letter among them. An email arrives one morning announcing a publisher wants her book, and she jumps around her bedroom in silent celebration before traveling to sign her book deal at an impressive publishing office. She deposits her first advance check at the bank, walks through a bookstore imagining her novel on display, then moves into a bigger apartment with a proper home office and writing desk. At a design studio, she sees her book cover for the first time and touches it with trembling hands, then visits a printing facility to watch her words become real books and holds the first physical copy against her chest. Launch day arrives, and her novel sits prominently in a major bookstore, where a long line of fans waits for her signature at an evening event as she signs copy after copy with grateful disbelief. That night in her hotel room, she watches online reviews pour in and sees her book climbing the bestseller list, leading to a television interview on a morning show and a podcast recording at a radio station. She gives an inspirational speech at a university auditorium, then attends an awards ceremony where her name is called as the winner, and she holds the trophy with tears streaming down her face. But success brings unexpected emptiness as she wakes in her luxury apartment staring at the ceiling, then faces a blank screen in her home office as pressure for a second book mounts. She struggles to write at the coffee shop and visits a therapist to process her complicated feelings about fame. Seeking grounding, she walks through her old neighborhood and returns to the diner where she once worked, sitting at the same counter where she used to scribble on napkins. She opens a storage unit containing her old belongings and finds her original rejection letters, reading the first one again with a knowing smile as she remembers who she was before success. She visits her old apartment building and sits on that same park bench at sunset, seeing her journey from a new perspective.